Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Faster Masters Rowing Radio, where having a rowing coach only makes you better. Following a program gives you a true pathway to becoming a confident rower who's respected by your peers. You can become the athlete you want to row with. I'm Rebecca Caroe, and I'm joined by Marlene Royle.
Hello, Rebecca, and hello to our Faster Masters Rowing Radio audience.
It's very nice to be here slightly earlier than usual because it's the first Friday for me, Thursday for you of the month, first week of the month. And we do our podcast an hour earlier so that our friends in Europe can watch us instead of having to stay up till midnight when we're live. It works quite well, I think.
Yes, it makes it reasonable. It's a reasonable evening time for them instead of it being, a couple hours later, for sure.
That's right. I have one well-known listener who normally listens in the bathroom the following morning. But maybe she's watching us now. So if you're watching live, underneath the live stream, do put a little comment in to say where you're watching from, because we always like to hear what's going on from your part of the rowing world. Now, this past week is when we talk about the things that have been broadly happening in our own rowing lives. And before we launch into that, the podcast this week is brought to you by the Rowing Directory. It's the online listing for all rowing businesses. You can find local boat builders, oars, electronics, gifts, coaching, vacations, and more. Go to rowing.chat and click the menu directory. We have recently added listings for Glide Boats, the Flying Boatman, who's a British boat repair shop, Shell covers Australia, Adirondack Rowing, who do second-hand boats in upstate New York and claim to have the largest array of second-hand boats in the world, and Trophy Oars. Again, I think what they do is written in the name. Now, Marlene, what's your week held for you?
Well, this week, since we're at the beginning of the month, we were working on our March programs for our membership, and I'll give a quick rundown of what's in this month's program. From the training point of view, we've actually got a choice of 3 different programs right now because that's just how the racing world is overlapping. So our first program, the March program, is for a 5K peak in March because we have many of our members who are racing head races this year. And in the UK, March is head racing month. So the first program focuses on that. Then we have 2 different 1K programs, slightly different tracks. The first one is in a specific preparation phase, and that is for those individuals who are training for their championship races or a peak race that's in May and June. So our Australians, for example, they have their championships in May. And the other 1K track is still in a general preparation phase. That is for championships that are in August or early September. So that might be for North Americans, that might be their US Masters Nationals or Canadian Nationals, or people who may be focusing on FISA World Masters this year. So 3 different programs, and we specify in the description, if you are training for this, use this program. The land programs, the strength programs coincide with these programs as well. In our technical module, we did a video which focuses on sitting position and the position of your pelvis on the seat. And this is a pretty important topic because if you are not sitting correctly on your seat, it's going to be very difficult for you to hinge, to set your body angle, and it's also going to affect your sequencing at the beginning of the drive. So we go into that in a fair amount of detail. Our performance module builds on the technique video and gives you a review of anatomy of the hip and the pelvis. So you can kind of see how it's all connected and why it's important that you sit the way that you sit. And there's a series of exercises for hip and pelvis mobility, because this is a big, big issue in masters rowers. So it is something that needs to be paid attention to. And then our rowing lifestyle, we have 2 articles. One is 10 tips for building your gut health. So really good tips. And the importance of that is becoming more and more important to maintain our health as we age, and particularly for balancing hormones and things like serotonin. And another article about anti-inflammatory foods, which connects to the gut health article. And then as our bonus module, Rebecca did a really nice presentation on rowing fabrics. So if you would like to decorate your house, or you'd like to make some bags or sew some clothes, it's got all kinds of different rowing patterns, which I thought were really nice.
I've just had a thought while you mentioned that. It'd be really cute to have bags to protect the spoons of your blades, when you go to regattas, made out of fabric with rowing patterns on them.
Yeah, or fanny packs, or, all kinds of, those little, I like those little quick backpacks with strings, those types of things, like really simple little quicks that you just throw stuff into.
There we go. Lots of inspiration there. I'm particularly looking forward to moving up in rate. We did our first workout this week in the 8s, and you had a 4 by 500 meters workout, and it was a really interesting challenge. Heading up towards rate 30. We're nowhere near race pace yet, and there were an awful lot of people going, "Oh my golly, thank goodness we've got another 3 weeks in March where we can continue to practice this."
I know, no, it's sort of like it's like the first time trial. It's always a shock. It doesn't matter how well you think you've done. It's still, you still have to get over it. You just have to do it.
Yep, that is absolutely right. A shock to the system, but yeah, kind of, as they say in New Zealand, take a concrete pill and man up.
Or they suck it up cupcake. That's another one.
A quick thank you to everybody who supports this podcast. We are very grateful to our regular subscribers who make a small donation each month to help us defray the overheads. Go to fastermastersrowing.com/podcast. And if, when you're listening today, you hear one thing that you think that was helpful or useful or interesting, we would be very grateful for your continued support. The donations start at $1 a month. Now, I also have a little announcement. If you are thinking that maybe you might like to start a Faster Masters training program, but you need a little encouragement, we have a discount on our annual program for individuals. It uses a coupon code, and this will give you 15% off the full price, which is $390 for a year's membership. The code is NY2022 March, NY2022 March. And that is going to run through till midnight on Sunday, the 6th of March. But on Saturday night, it drops to a 10% discount. So act now if you think you would like to join us as an individual. If you're new to the podcast, we have subscription monthly recurring payment programs for individuals, for crews, and for an entire club group. The individual program is the only one that we offer as a monthly and an annual. The annual gives you 12 months for the price of 10. So it's an already discounted price, but we recognize that it is an upfront payment. So if you'd like to join us, take a look at our programs page on the website, fastermastersrowing.com. Now, we are delighted to welcome for the first time to the Faster Masters podcast, Susie Loates. Hey, Susie.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, tell everyone where you are and your background in rowing.
Right. I'm from Trafford Rowing Club in Manchester, United Kingdom. And I got into rowing because my children rowed as juniors. And as many parents, I got very tired of standing on the canal bank, because we row on a canal, and I thought I'd have a go. I saw the women's squad and I did train with them at one outing and decided it just wasn't for me. But I also felt that I wanted to keep rowing. So I joined the recreational squad and have become vice captain, and I organise the outings. I'm very fortunate that Trafford Rowing Club, the management of it, the committee, welcome recreational rowers. And as such, they set up 19 sessions a week where we can row.
Wow.
So that's 3 times a day during weekdays, plus 3 evenings, plus a Sunday afternoon session. And there is availability for a Saturday afternoon session if in the future people would like it. So we have recreational juniors as part of the junior squads, but also I have people from 18 upwards who row as recreational.
Let's just pause there and roll back. What does recreational mean in the context of Trafford Rowing Club, which you've already hinted that you have adult rowers, the women's squad, junior rowers? What is a recreational rower?
It's anybody who does not want to commit to the full training plan of the racing squads. So it doesn't mean to say that they don't race. They can if they choose to. But a lot of them are shift workers who can't commit. I have parents with young children. I have the professionals who come at the weekends and in the evenings when the weather, more light in the evenings. So it's a complete range of people.
Brilliant. And do you know, that's quite interesting because I have a informal definition of what's a master's rower, and my informal definition is anyone who doesn't race 2K. Does that fit yours?
Not at all. We take on the learn to rowers, and for some of them 2K is an awfully long way, and they have to fit in. They can't go straight into a racing squad, so we build them up very slowly with the help of the existing rowers. Some of the existing rowers give vast amounts of time in the recreational squad to build these people up, and some of them don't want to go into that racing ever.
But they're happy to train hard and turn up regularly.
Yeah. What we do ask for is a good technical row. Even if you are straight up learn to row, as long as you learn a little thing with us as a recreational, that is a good outing for us.
Tell me a little bit about the head count compared with the other training groups in Trafford Rowing Club.
Right, that we have 200 members within Trafford, approximately 100 juniors, and then 100 adults. With the recreational, we're up to about 20 at the minute. And the rest is dispersed within the men's and women's squads. But it does fluctuate. Obviously, we are recruiting more all the time into recreational.
Tell us what boats you use, Susie.
The one thing we don't do is sweep rowing because we find coxing is an issue. Because we are on a narrow canal where we run a one-way system, you have to learn very, very quickly to steer and pull in. So we say no sweep rowing. It's safety. So we get out singles, doubles, quads. And so everybody has to...
Are those all fine boats?
All fine boats, yes. Because our canal, if you capsize, you can stand up and walk to the side.
Oh, that's good.
Right, that's easy.
Don't swallow the water. Is that the rule?
No. So we have the use of any boat within the boathouse.
Mm-hmm. But you've hinted that you have times of day when the priority goes to different groups, so different groups train at different times.
Yeah, we use a booking system, Fit Club. I'm sure there's many throughout. People will know different ones, where people add their availability and can book a boat. There's never been any clash. Or if we want a particular boat at a particular time and we think it might clash with a junior, we just negotiate with the coach. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been an issue at all, because we are so welcome and a recognised part of the club.
Was it always like that?
Yes. Yes. The club started in quite late, in 1957, and we didn't start racing until the 1980s. It was purely a recreational and has gradually built up. So there's always been the ethos to include recreational, as you know, especially as we are in a very safe bit of water. Having said that, we can the racing squads can go for 25 kilometers. Whereas
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Marlene, you had a few things that you were keen to ask Susie.
Yes, I was interested in, of your 19 available sessions, how are they broken down? Like, for example, are they all coached sessions, or are some kind of free rows, or they're all technical sessions, or are there differences between the 19 available time slots?
What we try to do is arrange to be together as a group. We don't like going out on our own, even if, you know, so we arrange to go out 4 or 5 times a week as a group. And within that, we'll have more experienced rowers who informally coach. And anybody can coach if we see something, think, oh, perhaps that would help, that drill would help. Mm-hmm. We're encouraged to help other rowers. And you can always learn. Even a new row starter can spot something in a much more experienced rower that has slipped. So, yeah.
That's definitely a key part of the, if I can call it, boundary setting. What are the acceptable behaviours for this group and the strategy for the group? Do you actually have those written down and documented, or do people learn it by osmosis?
It's osmosis. It's the way the recreationals work. From the minute you're greeted by everybody, you are treated as an equal rower, with the ability to input equally. There is no set coach.
That is really quite something, Susie. I'm hesitant to say this, but it sounds unique. I've never heard of another group that's as openly equal like that, without you obviously have a leadership, because you yourself have, stepped up, and I'm sure that you set up a lot of the Fit Club and the background and stuff, but it's sort of prima inter pares, everybody first among equals, or equal amongst equals.
Yeah. Also, if somebody wanted to step down from one of the racing squads or step up, there is no boundary. We are very fluid within the club. And it also means, if we want to race, the club are like, yes, you can race. It was our home head race last weekend, and yes, I did race. But there's no pressure on you to. Yeah, we also, fortunate enough, in the Northwest and Yorkshire, we have the Explorer series, which there's 5 clubs that have 2 stable quads each. And you arrange to arrive to race, and they do dashes of 300 meters in the stable quads. They're coxed. They're almost twice as wide as a normal fine boat. So they are ideal for adaptive crews, straight up learn to row, or less mobile crews. And cake is compulsory afterwards.
Oh, God.
I like you even more.
Right.
And your club doesn't actually own any of these boats?
We can't fit them in the clubhouse. Our boathouse is so small, but there are 5 clubs within the Northwest. So we travel up to sort of 60 miles for a Saturday, but you would get up to 5 races in the day.
Mm-hmm.
One piece of cake per race, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. And equally well, that is run by a volunteer who puts out to the clubs and says, who would like to race? Who can raise a crew and come on this day to this particular club?
And that so the other club tow their boats over to that club. And
there's the 5 clubs who have they have the quads ready for you. So we only race 2.
So you just have 2 boats that just go round and round and round.
Yeah. So you just turn up on the day. The quads are on the water. There's no lifting of boats. The oars are already in, and off you go.
Mm-hmm.
In the old days, when boats, well, obviously transportation was more limited, regattas used to have what they called committee boats, which were exactly that. They were provided by the race organising committee. And I did a couple of seasons of skiffing, which is traditional boat racing on the River Thames. And in skiff regattas, the boats are always bought in pairs at the same time. So whether they're a single or a double, they always buy 2 of them. So they're the same age. And it doesn't matter if you are racing me and we're in a boat that's 1 year old or 50 years old, you know, it's fair racing. So it's very similar sort of modern adaptation of that principle of committee boats.
Yes, it's like that in St. John's, Newfoundland too, for the regatta, the St. John's, the Royal Regatta, which is the first Wednesday of August every year. And they have 4 boats like this, except they're six-man crews, 6-man sweep boats, fixed seats, but they have a little bit of slide. And I used to live on the hill, like literally right above the boathouse. And all summer long, the 4 committee boats are put out at 5 a.m. and each crew is allowed 1 hour of training and no more. And so on every hour, 4 crews get out and 4 crews get in. They practice their hour, and it goes like that from sunrise to sunset, all, from the time they start rowing in the spring. So as soon as the ice is out and they start rowing, it's just constant. There's always 4 crews on the water, and they switch every hour, and it's quite amazing. But on race day, the racing boats come out, and it's the only day of the year that they row the racing models. And the racing models are, of course, lighter than these are, but they're identical boats. They were built by Hudson many years ago. Identical boats, but they're only used on regatta day.
Now, if anyone's listening to us today, Susie, and is hearing what you've got to say and thinking, I wonder if we could set something like that up in our club group, what advice would you have for them?
First of all, approach the committee, your club committee. They're the ones that can change the way it's thought about within the club. So you approach, whether it's the committee, the president, the captain, and say, we would like to set up the recreational. And it's got to come from them to say, yes, and we will allocate you time. And it has to be fair time on the water and fair allocation of boats and equipment. And it will come to filter down into the rowers so that you are recognised as an equal to the racing squads. Because I have heard in some clubs that, oh no, we don't recognise recreational as equals. We shove them on a Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock when the water's clear.
Yeah, and they get the worst boats and the oldest oars.
Yes. So the better rowers within Trafford are allowed to take out the top racing boats, and that isn't an issue,
Right.
because they are recognised as good rowers rather than recreational. So it has to come from the committee, the captain, the president down. Without them being on board, you would struggle. Definitely.
Susie, do you call, when you go out on your sessions and they're kind of mutual practice sessions, is there somebody who is the leader? Like, is there one person that's the organizer of the group, or do the people, have they reserved their boat and they simply know that everybody's going to be there at the same time?
We book it on a system called Fit Club, and I just look who's going to be there with a rough plan, and then life happens. So whoever turns up at the time, we get out the quads, the doubles, the singles. It has a structure, but it's not set in stone, because we recognise life, and we aren't training for something in specific. So we have to be flexible. I think it would discourage a lot of people if we said, you have said you will be down, and then they can't make it. That's where recreational, that's the beauty of it within Trafford.
If you've got a group who want to go out together in a boat, can they request, can we four have a quad? Yeah.
Totally, yes. We have that ability to book the boats, yes. Yeah.
And do you pay the same membership subs as everybody else?
Yes, we do. Yeah, because it's relatively cheap for us. It's £25 a month. There is no joining fee. It's just a monthly fee of £25. That's for the racing squads and for the recreational. The juniors pay more because we have a paid coach, but the adults, it's all the same, because we get equal equipment and equal sessions.
Which is actually very similar to what we pay over here, although we don't pay monthly. I'd love to speak to your club treasurer to find out how they accommodate the monthly, presumably it's a monthly standing order that people have to set up. How do they work out if somebody decides to stop for December and then rejoin in January? Do they just have to have a lot of bookkeeping support?
I think you'd have to ask the treasurer that one.
Tell them to get in touch. Our treasurer has a few very clear red lines that she will not go over. One of them is she's not doing huge numbers of monthly reconciliations. And the second thing is every single debt has to be paid before the end of the year, because she will not do accruals.
Yeah, our club works like if you join, it's the annual membership, but our season is half the year. So it's the rowing season. And then if people want to take coached sessions, they basically buy a packet. They buy a packet of 3 sessions or 6 sessions or 12 sessions. And, we just take attendance, and, when they're at session number 11, we say, you need to book some more sessions. So we did it that way last year with a relatively new club, and it worked quite well. But you do have to keep attendance so that you know how many sessions somebody has come, because again, you have this really flexible schedule, and you have people's schedule who is changing, and it's different in July, August than when people get back to work and school. The situation changes a little bit too. So
brilliant. Any last things, Marlene, you want to ask Susie?
No, I mean, I think it sounds wonderful. And I actually have just been thinking about my summer program and how to continue to develop it. And it gives me some ideas, because people love coached sessions and they get a lot out of it, but they also need practice time. And, we also have a rule that you cannot scull on your own. You have to go out with a buddy. But, preferable something that's a social row or an organized time when people go out together is, one, it's more fun because people enjoy going out together, but it's also, it's also safer, and people help each other and get to know each other much better.
I mean, I also organise social rows, like the Christmas row, and the summer row, and let's row because it's a Tuesday, and we all go for cake afterwards. Yeah, I think the recreational serves so much good for so many people who have got high pressure jobs. They can't commit to the racing squads, but they come to us and forget for 2 hours their job, their family, any other pressures, and it clears their head. That's what is so important for us at the minute as a recreational squad.
Susie, it's been absolutely delightful having you join us for the podcast. Thank you for sharing your insight, your knowledge. We wish the Recreationals all the very best for their future, whatever it is, cake perhaps, their future
cake.
Or other things that are treats, right?
Yes, my pleasure.
So this has been Faster Masters Rowing Radio, the show dedicated to masters athletes who want fun, fitness and confidence in their rowing. You can become a student of the sport by buying a Faster Masters program subscription today at fastermastersrowing.com/join. Before I leave you, the photograph this week is from Lake Washington Rowing Club. And this is a delightful old wooden 8 that they have had for many, many years, that started a discussion online as to what use they could put it to now it was no longer seaworthy or lake worthy. And there was a very interesting discussion around how to chop it up and make trophy cabinets and bedside tables and coffee tables. So till next week, it's been lovely having you with us. Bye-bye.